Right, moving on. See, it was not just a cultural movement alone. Language also played a significant role in shaping modern Europe. As you know, when we are speaking a same language, we are speaking the same language, then we will be more connected than with people who are speaking a different language. Because we understand each other, we can express each other, so it makes us a cultural bond. And of course, we have the heritage of that language and that common ancestry. In that way, language also played an important role in the revolutions of Europe. When we say language, culture comes in part of it. The music, the stories of which were spread in a particular language made united. The perfect example of it comes with Poland. Poland was actually divided between many countries like Russia, Austria, and Prussia. If you see that light beige color is Poland. It was divided between Russia, Russian Empire, Prussia, and Austria. So for them, the uniting factor was Polish, the language, the culture of Poland, the cultural heritage of Polish as a language. One of the main reason for they were promoting vernacular languages, and they collected their folklores, folk stories, folk dances, and they celebrated it. So it united them, even if they belonged to different empires or countries. As Polish, their common culture, their common language, and folklores in that language, folk stories, folk dances in that language really united them. One of the frontrunners of this movement was Karol Kurpinski, and what he did, he was spreading it in all various regions through his folk music and folk dances and also operas. So he was performing in many places in this Polish language, with Polish operas, Polish music, and Polish folk dances. This brought people together. Means this brought people who are speaking Polish together. So that became a cultural moment, and that was a factor uniting people who are speaking Polish. He is one of the front runners or main personality in Polish freedom struggle. So this is where you can understand how a language played an important role. The uniting factor was there that the language Polish. And then when Russia imposed compulsory Russian language in all their region, which was actually to suppress the movement of Polish speaking people to be united. In 1831, they revolted against it. It's because they felt their cultural heritage or background had been being suppressed. So they revolted against it. Just because the Russian Empire decided that everybody should use Russian language. No other language was supposed to be used. And this introduced a new movement among clergy in church. They start to use more Polish language in church and church related activity. Remember that during that time there wasn't much activity going around because people were illiterate, and there were a few schools, and not many could afford to go to schools. So education was not as prominent as we see now. For us, There's so many things. There is newspapers, TVs, shows, plays, dramas, cinemas. You say, you name it. There is a lot of things happening around. But during that time, in 18th, 19th century in Europe, the entire entertainment was these folk dances, folk music, ballads or operas. So when compulsory Russian language was imposed in church, clergy started to use Polish for church activity. It was one way to protest against this rule, and many of the clergy were arrested and sent to Siberia. Siberia is one of the coldest place in the place where human habits. This use of Polish language was seen as a struggle against the Russian Empire. So here we see the importance of a language and the connection between language and nationalism. Poland is a perfect example for that because they were divided in many countries, but the fact which united them was the language and their folklore, means their cultural heritage in that language. They they struggled, means they made a struggle or revolt against Russian Empire, which was a huge one, strong one, because of the compulsory Russian language, implementation of Russian language as a compulsory language. So the Polish clergy and common people used it, and use of Polish language was seen as a struggle against Russian. So, if a question comes about language and nationalism, these are the points you have to remember. National feeling kept alive with music and language. Second, Poland is a classical example, and the leader of the famous person in that one is Karol Krupinski. He spread nationalist feeling through all his operas, music, and folk dances in Polish. In 1831, they revolted against compulsory Russian language, against the rule of compulsory Russian languages. This induced Polish clergies to use Polish in church and common places. This was seen as a struggle against the Russian dominance. This is about nationalism in connection with the language. Hope you understood this topic. Let us move on to the next.